Welcome, everybody. We are so happy to be here with you again. And today we have Wednesday, as usual. It's 12th of June. We are soon going to the second part of this year, right? I always say that, but I'm always amazed how fast time goes by. Time that we are living by, not spirit on the other side, right? And that's difficult to grasp sometimes. But anyway, welcome everybody, and you're watching Cosmic Guardians with hosts Anne and Corrine, my beautiful cosmic angel. And it's always amazing to be here with you. Today we are going to talk about sympathy versus empathy. What is the difference? That is a really good question. It's kind of a huge difference, and we're going to come to that. We intend to be live with you every week on Wednesdays, usually at 10 p.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Central time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Sweden, and 8 p.m. Greece. And we go live at facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians. And youtube.com/Angel Place on Earth. And if you missed last week's show, or you just want to catch up with any of our past episodes, you find them there. So facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians, youtube.com/Angel Place on Earth. It's very funny always when we are going to try to communicate pages and addresses like that. So last week we talked about meeting yourself and seeing beyond the surface. I see me, I see you. Welcome, my beautiful cosmic angel, Corrine. Do you want to remind us about last week's show a little bit?
And I see you. I see you. And I let you see me. And this was really fun to do because it takes our relationship beyond the limitations of just the norm. And by you really understanding and seeing inside of me and knowing all of my fears, my doubts, my happiness, my joys, and being very honest about it, then I can open up to you and I can trust you with that information. And it really is the most magnificent bridge of trust, but it takes integrity.
It takes a lot of integrity, but being genuine, and I can open up to you and I see you, I honor you, I love you, I appreciate you for real. And I always do this.
I know.
Because you're genuine, and when we are as genuine as we can be, not judging ourselves if we still have a bit to go, right? But when we are, we also allow the other person to open up. And that is really beautiful.
And that gives both people an opportunity to be in a very safe, loving situation and be able to explore more in depth who they really are as a spiritual being. And it's a real gift when you find somebody that you have that connection with.
Yes.
And it's freedom. It's freedom. Yes.
I've been looking for you.
Well, it took a few years on my part, but we are here.
It took a few on my part as well, but now we are both officially mature, aren't we?
I think so. And you just hit your maturity a month ago, right? And I've been practicing it for about 20 years. So,
That's perfect. And I think it's common in this world, and we are taught that we are supposed to adapt to certain things. And of course, we can't always have our way of doing things, right? We need to meet situations, people, the world in different ways, but we are not supposed to not feel comfortable showing who we are, because that's the only thing we have, right?
And unfortunately, we were taught to put away our babyhood, our times of just being free to, oh, I'm going to crawl on that, I'm going to do this, and then we're told how we're supposed to behave. And that's when we start losing our identity and becoming what someone else thinks we should be. And
Exactly.
it's fun to again have that freedom to explore. And the beauty is that each person has something so unique to bring to the relationship that when you're hidden from it, you'll never see that aspect. So yeah, it's awesome.
It is awesome. And plus, when you adapt and not showing, coming from who you really are, it means that, first of all, you wouldn't be able to see me because
Nope.
I wouldn't show myself, and you wouldn't be able to show yourself either. It goes
Correct.
both ways, right?
Correct.
Just to maybe find out a few years later that we may not be compatible, right? And I think this is very common in relationships.
It is. It is. And you're very familiar with working relationships, as am I. Um, and that's sad because if you took the time in the beginning to find that closeness, then you both would open up a third avenue of finding things that really allow you to become more in the relationship. And then you wouldn't have that with it just disappearing one day, because it's not based on something that's just uh, what the word I'm looking for.
Genuine.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. See, you just kind of, fill in the spaces for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Filling in the blanks, right?
Yes, and sometimes there are a few. So thank
Well,
you.
I have that too. What do you say about kicking off today's topic with two poems?
I will leave that. That is beautiful. We usually do that, and you have written something so precious. And so, would you like to lead
You
off?
absolutely. I can go off first.
Okay.
So my poem is called Two Sides of Care poem. Sympathy's heart is kind. It sees the tears that fall, sending comfort like letters, a supportive call. Empathy souls dives deep into the sea of pain, swimming alongside in the sorrowful rain.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
What we're trying to convey is how the heart is where empathy comes from. And mine is, I know your pain. I lended you my strength. I share your heart. I hold it safe. I feel your tears. I share them with you. I feel your sadness. I surround you in my heart. As you find your way, I will hold the light. I an empath I am an empathetic person, and I come from the heart, and I feel the wholeheartedness of what another person is feeling. So that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yes. And do you want to start off? You are an expert. No pressure.
No pressure. I love that you just add that. That it kind of is, okay, seeing all the sweat and everything else. Well, there is a very subtle difference between empathy and sympathy, but it's a vast difference. It's quiet, but it's very vast. The word sympathy is described as an expression of feelings of pity or sorrow for another's misfortune. But it mostly comes from ego, because when you're sympathetic, you think that you can fix somebody's stuff. Okay? Now, an empathy. Empathy is described as the ability to feel and understand others' feelings and the ability to convey that feeling to the person that is suffering. And it comes from the heart. In other words, now a true empathetic person actually feels the physical pain, the emotional pain. And that is challenging, because you have to learn how to put boundaries around, so you're not walking around and every person you walk by you're going, oh my goodness, it's horrible. But there's a beautiful difference. So what would you like to say?
Yes, because you could take the word, as we call light workers who are walking this path, right? Empaths.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of says it all, because uh, that means that you are usually picking up things from someone else, right? So if you would cry, I would cry with you, because I would pick up your senses and feel what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have pain somewhere, I would maybe have the same, or even bodily symptoms sometimes, actually, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I tend to, when people are coughing, I tend to get the same thing. It's kind of funny in a way, but it's a nice thing. But it doesn't mean that you take it. When we are learning and mastering ourselves, coming back to what we have been talking about before, also being a master, meaning that we can do all those things, but we are not taking it on, but we can understand the person and we can feel with them, right?
Yes, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine was having some computer problems, and I don't know anything about computers. So, in sympathy, I said, I really feel bad because she's having that problem, but I am so glad it's not me. And and sympathy is kind of like that, where empathy is, I could feel that person struggling to get it to work. Empathy has been very useful in my field, because when I'm doing a Reiki session or soul healing session, I literally feel what's going on, and then that gives me an idea of where to direct the energy. But I've been working at this for over 45 years, so I don't let it linger in my person. I'm able to feel it, but I don't have to take it on. I observe, but I do not absorb. Absorb. I said it. There we go.
Exactly. And you could say also that sympathy is like you can share something, right? You share the sorrow, you share the feelings, you share it. But empathy is like walking in the shoes. You can feel it like it was yours.
Exactly. Exactly. And every now and then you want to tell somebody, would you clean your shoes out because there's pebbles in them? You know?
Exactly.
And that is quite true. And we can learn to have sympathy and empathy without having to become an empath. We can learn to, with our words, find words that are going to uplift, as we've been speaking with master training, as we've been speaking with finding our own inspiration. With these words, if we can uplift a person, and I am having a family situation where a close member is possibly making their transition. And I thought, to go over and hover over them and say, oh, this is so sad, we're going to miss you and everything else. I came up with the idea of writing this person a letter of gratitude, telling them all the things that I appreciate about what they have given in my life, and how much, and in the present tense, not like they're gone. And this is how to show sympathy with empathy,
Yes.
because you're going a little step beyond, and so it's an amazing thing.
And you know, also acknowledging the person, because we tend to not know how we should act sometimes. How am I going to behave now in front of a person who are about maybe to transition?
Uh-huh.
How can I feel? I think that many people feel a little thrown off, weird. How am I supposed to be? But just being yourself, right?
Hmm.
Just showing who you are and being there and acknowledging them, talking, saying everything you wanted to say before anything happens, right?
Yes,
You by doing that, it's like you say to this person, I see you, and that's beautiful.
that right there is, you just summed it all up. I had a wonderful experience one birthday. um, I don't need gadgets and things anymore, and my kids got together and put a baby picture in a frame, and then they put all the things that they remember from their childhood, each one. That meant so much to me. And I realized that if a person lets you know what you have done in their life, what it gives. I have a friend that goes with me to a lot of the events I do, and she observes things and she says, when I watch you, this is what I see. And I don't see it because I'm doing it. But the gift of having someone relay that to you is beyond words. And I think when we see each other, we have a tendency to look beyond what society says we should say and be able to really uplift that person in a way that just mere words can't handle. So
Exactly. And you know, most people wants to be confirmed, as we say, right? They want some kind of confirmation. That is a beautiful way and very genuine way of confirming someone.
yes, yes. And it is a marvelous thing to be able to be part of a person's life all the way through it. And that is difficult because when a person's facing a challenge that we may have done in the past, and then we go back into our past and bring that perception to here, and then it clouds how we would really respond to someone. So being able to love yourself, and we were talking about loving yourself,
Yes,
and being able to understand that you're just holding that person in love. And this is an important thing to have when you're dealing with situations that you're not comfortable with.
exactly. And again, we're not supposed to judge ourselves for feeling maybe weird or uncomfortable sometimes, but we have to look. And as long as we are coming from the heart and being genuine,
Yes,
nothing can be wrong.
yes. And a lot of times people think that they're showing sympathy, but in reality, it's like, well, if you'd listened to me, that would have never happened. I'm sorry it's happening, but I've got the answers to it and I'm going to fix it. And this is coming from ego. This is coming from, you think you know how to live their life better than they do. And learning how to use empathy with that sympathy, I think is a tool that everybody can have. They don't have to get to the point where, as an empath, we really physically feel their pain, because that's a big responsibility. And learning to be an empath is a challenge. I'm working with a lot of empaths, teaching them how to be able to be in the world and not just fall apart, so to speak. because I feel what the earth is doing. I feel her tears. I feel her changes. And it gives me perspective of what I can do to be from where I am, do what I can do, but I still feel it and I respect it, but I can't let it paralyze me. And
No,
you know,
exactly. And part of mastering also, now we're getting out of topic as usual, right?
that's
But
always
everything is connected, and a lot of people say that they are overwhelmed and they try to avoid many situations. For instance, going into spaces where there's a lot of people, those who are empaths, right?
yes.
But we are eventually mastering that. And if we are trying to escape and hide ourselves or whatever, uh, we are dragging out on the process. But it still doesn't mean that we're going to judge ourselves for it. But you know again, taking the bull by the horns, that's going to lead us through, because you mastered it. How did you master this?
A lot of years. And yet when I started doing the things that I was doing, I had no idea it would lead me to this result. But I would take and I a lot of empathic people, a lot of people that are coming here to be of service to others. For some reason, we come in with very low self-esteem, and I had a big share of that. And to get over that before I could even start loving myself was a journey. And I listened to this wonderful song that was, I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful. I'm lovable. And I can't remember the rest of the words, but I listened to that so much right after I was going through a life challenge that I wore out 4 tapes. In the old days, people, they had these little cassette tapes.
I remember those.
And then I started, and I would do the 4 agreements, and I would work with my angel cards, and I would draw 4 cards, and write down what it had said, write down the affirmations, and I did this every single day for almost a year. And I didn't know I was determined in making changes, but it just seemed so natural for me. But everybody finds their way of moving that stuff from the past and letting it, releasing it. We're going to be talking about that later. Releasing it. And that's
Yes.
such a beautiful word. Yes.
I'm going to make you all laugh again, as I usually do, right? Because
Okay.
I've heard
Beautiful.
um, a lot of those things you said. Well, if you have listened to me, um, you wouldn't have ended up in the way you did, or all those things people say, right?
Mhm.
Opinions, perceptions of theirs, not mine. And I also heard the opposite. It's no use telling you how to do things because you're going to do it your way anyway. So that's a bliss.
Ah,
That's the benefit of being tenacious or stubborn. I call it stubborn.
it
In a
is.
good.
And I think what it is that even though we're not aware that we're wonderfully unique, we're given just a little bit to protect ourselves, and that's one of them. Is I can do this, and and you keep bombarding me with this, but I know deep in my heart that I'll find a way to do it. And and that's what helps the light worker survive, because it's tough out there. And and working with these people that haven't quite found how to live in the matrix, and are trying to live their spiritual examples. Uh, some have the tenacity to just say, I'm going to do it. I have a friend, little tiny person. I thought I was short, but she's only she's 4'11", and she is an engineer. She goes into these big corporations and tells men what to do. That's who she is. When she took this job at a big company, Boeing or something like that, she said, I'm going to start a meditation class and I'm going to start a yoga class. And that's all there is to it. And they go, well, that's it. You want me? This is it. So she took her corporate world and she brought the spirituality to it. And she had the stubbornness and the tenacity to say, if you want me, you get the whole me. And it took me many years to get to that point.
Yeah, it is fascinating because we have labels on so many things, right? So certain things like being stubborn, the first people think about is that it's something that is towards a negative, but it's not. And it depends on how we use it, everything, right?
Exactly. And
How we use it. And if we are having the courage to believe that I can.
mm-hmm. And that's like when we're dealing with when is a situation that we're sympathetic about and we really are sincere, and maybe this person we don't know very much, but we can, if we learn to just open up and just hold, love gets overused, but just hold the heart open and let that heart energy do what it needs to do, rather than feeling that you have to get involved and help them change their life because they're in such a bad place. And this is where just allowing the empathy to allow us to be of service to the person that's going through what they're going through.
Yeah.
Um, I have a wonderful occasion of going once a month to, it's called the Amanda's Rainbow House of Hope. And it was created for the families, for the parents and the children of children that are terminal. And these children are in the hospital at the last part of their life. And the families need a place to come and receive what they need. The children need to be able to talk about what they're doing. The parents need to have a massage or a Reiki. And I go once a month and have the beautiful experience of sitting with these parents whose children are making their transition. And I had that experience 45 years ago, and there was nobody like that out there. So it was my tenacity that allowed me to move through that in a way that was loving, in a way that didn't leave my children scarred with the drama of their brother dying. And when you are able to bring both of those together, then you are really of service to people.
Exactly. And I think that part, leaving someone to just be in those moments, right?
Just holding,
Not,
just
yeah,
there.
just holding them, not staring them, not giving a lot of advice, because sometimes we don't need or want to hear all
No,
of that at that moment. We just need someone to be there, someone listening to us, someone holding our hand, giving us a hug, whatever it takes, right?
yes, yes. And that is difficult because when somebody especially is facing, you've got somebody that they know somebody that's passing, that brings up so many of our own perceptions of what death is. And so we go through our own, oh my gosh, this becomes real. And you don't know how to speak to someone. And I think eventually we're going to be talking about making new words so we can say something other than they're in a better place.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we are. Maybe another show.
Oh, I think that's coming. I really do.
Brainstorming with the audience so
That's
people can
right.
also have their input. That would
Yes.
be a brilliant idea, actually. You know, um, I haven't experienced that for people in direct family. Of course, my soul sister, but we never actually met in person. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Sue because she passed last year, right?
Hmm.
In March. Um, but I wasn't really beside her because we had such a distance. But we were talking video. She was very, very weak. But it's not easier to know that someone is going to transition than it is to actually be faced with the facts. Because I've experienced that part too.
Hmm.
When I lost someone I had a relationship with, and I was only 18, and he was 20, and he died in an accident. And it's kind of also a shock, right? When you come to
Hmm.
that place, you don't really understand. But I did experience how people don't really know how to talk to you. What are we going to say now? And the silence when you're walking somewhere where people know something happened. Um, and not judging them for it, but it's difficult for people in general to manage, right?
Hmm.
And I think that people come from that place of sympathy rather than empathy because they want to fix it for you. They want to give you some advice. They want to do something, right? But
Hmm.
that's not also the way through, right?
Correct. And sympathy is, it helps you keep a distance from things. It helps you say to that person way over there, I feel for you. I'm sorry you're going through this and everything else, but you don't have to get physically or emotionally involved. And it's a good tool that we have. I'm just saying that maybe we can tweak it a little bit so it becomes a little bit more said with empathy. And because we all have situations where we really feel sad for a situation, um, and we can understand that sadness, but there again we have no words. And so by saying, well, I send you a sympathy card, that allows them again to physically do something without physically doing something.
Yeah.
And so we'll make the sympathetic, empathetic cards, sort of whole new things. And being able to say something that really uplifts the person, but doesn't put it in woo-woo land, because it's real.
Yes.
It's a very fact of life. It really is. And and we're all going through a myriad of life situations, and it makes no difference where you are on the
On the
growth
scale.
thing. I just tell people, if you think being in this life is going to make everything rosy, it's like graduate classes. The tests are harder, they're longer, and they're more in depth, but you are stronger, so you can do it. But you can't get strong by keeping lifting the same weights. You have to keep increasing the weight. So
Exactly. And
yeah.
not to sound over the top positive, but we wouldn't be the versions of ourselves we are at this very moment in time if we haven't gone through what we have been going through. And
that
it doesn't mean that the purpose is to punish us or that we've done anything wrong or we've been bad in a past lifetime or anything. I don't believe any of that. But we have experiences, right?
Yes, we do. And some of the most traumatic experiences that I've had, and the most emotional experiences I've had, have, at this part of my life, I now look back and say, if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. I wouldn't be able to be of service as much as I am. So it was like, it's like an artist when they look at a piece of marble, they have a vision, but as they start working, then it says, well, we're going to go this way, or we're going to go this way. And you have to let that evolve. We are evolving. We are creating our unique self, and having enough empathy and sympathy to allow ourselves to go through these things. Then we create this beautiful, beautiful masterpiece.
Exactly. And for me, when I lost my boyfriend when I was very, very young, that set me on the course of digging, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't dig very, very deep for a long period, actually for many years, right? But it doesn't really matter. It's like a seed. You plant it in the soil, and it takes time for it to grow, and you water it. And then there comes a time when you feel that now I'm going to do it consciously.
And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. But at each turn that you have, um, it gives you an opportunity to find something or meet someone or read something or do something that you wouldn't have done if you had taken that other path. And that's kind of the fun of thinking that there are other um, earths and other lives that we're living at the same time. And it's kind of an interesting concept that maybe I am the artist in one of them, because I came here with, uh, I actually created something that was made into a bronze. So I can say I have a bronze, just one. Um,
Yeah,
I was in a dance contest, so I could say I could have been a dancer. I did this and I could have been this. And each of the things that are mixed up in me that I could have probably pursued, but that wasn't what I wanted to pursue at this time. And but they all made me what I am. And you know, I'm just an imperfect, perfect person. So what can I say? I love every minute of it.
exactly. And maybe, just thinking now, maybe we all are different versions of ourselves, using different talents in different versions of ourselves in other dimensions,
That's
lifetimes that
right.
are going on simultaneously, right?
Yes. And there's a lot of research on being able to reach into that other one and bring it here and use it in this one. And it's something I'm kind of interested in looking into. It's called quantum jumping, but that's a whole nother realm of stuff. But there again, my mind just kind of goes here and goes there and takes this. But I kind of like it. It's like having a different wardrobe to wear, and not being stuck with the same thing.
So again, the key differences with empathy and sympathy.
Are you pointing that question at me?
Yes.
That sounded like a question without you phrasing that it was going to be a question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Here we go. That's perfect. That's okay. The difference that I find, and what they have scientifically found, sympathy allows you to kind of show that you're thinking about them, but it keeps you far away. And a lot of times it comes from the ego. I don't have to be involved with this. I'm glad it's them, not me. Where empathy is from the heart, and it really, you're right there with them. And that is probably the biggest visible difference. And as I said, it comes in very, very many different shades. So it doesn't mean that sympathy is bad. It doesn't mean that empathy is better. It just means that if we could learn to be sympathetic and still be empathetic, we could stay the distance away, but we could do it with love. We could do it without judgment. We could do it with really heartfelt caring about that person, and not, oh, I'm so glad it wasn't me type thing. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of something to tweak in your mind.
Thank you. It does. And hi, Sonia, I see you. Sorry. No, you're not able to call, but you can write a question if you want to. If there's anything you would like to ask, just write it in the comments and we answer it for you. So Sonia it's Boo Cupo. I can't really say it. It's probably French. So yes, so happy to have you here too, Sonia. Thank you for being here from France. So we are global, aren't we?
Yes.
But it's on this journey, and when it comes to spirituality, so many things are connected. Sometimes it may feel overwhelming, right? Because there's so many aspects. But in essence, it's really simple. Because when we are narrowing things down, coming into the heart area, all of those things that are natural for our soul, we bring them into this life, right?
Yes. And I was speaking to someone just lately, and I suggested that when you're dealing with a lot of things that come up in our life, and deciding what is a way that you want to go and a way that you don't want to go, if it truly brings joy to your spirit, and you know you're going to bring joy to another person, then that's probably a better way to go than in something that you just have to do to look good or to feel good. And it's the same when you're dealing with someone that's going through a crisis. How can I show that I am caring about them, and find something that's going to uplift them, and then not have to feel that I'm obligated to do it? If there's an
Exactly.
obligation, it's probably better that you don't say anything, because it usually comes out like an obligation. And moving through life with using that as a little bit of a barometer, I think sometimes helps. Now, you can't always do it, and sometimes you have to do the obligatory thing, but that's okay. But most of the times you're doing it to bring that peace and that joy to yourself and to someone else. And that's a good place to be.
It is a good place to be. And, exactly as you said, whenever we feel unsure about how to act or what to say, maybe it's better not to do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we feel confident, just be there, listen. And if someone is crying, there's a usual statement: don't cry.
I
And
know it's going to be all
yeah,
right.
yeah, because it feels many times very uncomfortable, probably, to
Mm-hmm.
see someone suffering. It's not something we want. We feel uncomfortable, but it's not going to help to ask someone stop, because that's not going to release pain or anything else that's going on, right?
It's interesting because Greg Braden, oh, I love that man. Um, I see that man. I don't love him. I see him, because he lets us see him. He said that the tears that we shed in these circumstances are actually our soul's way of lubricating the situation, of making it so we can bear what we need to bear without it just completely tearing us up. And so I often think of that when I shed tears going through a situation, that it's okay, because it's not weakness, And it's not giving up. It is just releasing what the body needs to do so I can become a more compassionate person from having experienced a challenging situation. That's a big one, isn't it?
It is a big one, but it's also it's something built within us sometimes, right? It may
Yes,
be from society, how we are grown up, that we try to escape whatever is painful. That is something human, right?
exactly.
So if have a candle in front of me, I'm not going to put my finger in the flame because I know that's going to hurt. So it's a human thing to try to avoid, but we
Yes,
can't really escape life. That there's no way of escaping, and life is going to go up and down, right?
correct. But there is a way of escaping, but then you wouldn't get to enjoy life. So, so we kind of got to stay and play the game. And each time, each day, no matter what happens, and I see these as, well, this is going to be a new experience. This is going to be, like I dropped a brick on my toe yesterday, and I said, oh, that's going to leave a mark. Tied my shoe up and went out and finished doing my yard work and took the shoe off, and sure enough, two purple toes, and I'm going, well, that's cool. So you find a way of taking all of the ingredients, and I like to think of our experiences as ingredients, or like different colors in an artist's palette, um, because when we mix them together, I mean, sometimes we get black, sometimes we get beautiful magenta, but that's what makes the whole canvas. I mean, I see this beautiful picture behind you, and
This
that
one.
artist
Yeah.
had to mix colors together to get that.
Yeah.
And that's what life is mixing it all up and seeing what comes out.
Yeah, and to remember that we have more power than we usually think, because we have, even if everything is not in our hands, we still have the power of our response, right? So
Exactly.
how we respond to things, that's kind of the last step. But anyway, we still have it. So I can choose how I'm going to respond to something. I can.
And that's the beauty about it. And when we learn to love ourselves, when we begin to master ourselves, we then realize we have the power to make that choice. I can be in a situation and I can either choose to let it get me down and be unhappy, or I can choose to find the levity. I can find, and I do laugh at, you know, interesting things, but it takes the seriousness away, and it lets you look at it from that other perspective of, wow, this isn't as bad as it seems. It just is right now. And I think that when you start doing that with yourself, the freedom that you have, it allows you to be able to risk being more empathetic with people,
Yeah,
because being empathetic, you're putting yourself out there too. You're vulnerable to what they're feeling. So strengthening yourself helps you become a better version of yourself.
exactly. Something that helped me through my life, whenever I encountered something challenging, I always thought about, in a few months or next month or a year or whatever time frame, this is going to be a memory.
Mhm.
It's going to be only a memory. It's going to
Yeah.
be past. And life tends to, because everything is energy, life tends to, no, how can I have to rephrase that, because energies are never stagnant, right? They always move. So if there's a challenging time, just know that there will be an easier time ahead, always.
Well, I think two people just a few weeks ago were talking about the yin and the yang.
Yes.
and how important that it is to have both in order to have that balance. And we can't prepare ourselves for a bright day if we hadn't had a dark night, and physically, because we need to have that rest. We need to step away from it, and then we're able to do what we need to do the next day. We need to have the balance of the seasons, the coming and the going, and the change, and learning to move within that,
Yeah.
and have that harmony. Then it's not like butting right up against something like no or yes. It is, wow, this is a possibility. I've gotten in the habit of saying, well, that's going to be interesting. Because I'm leaving it open to whatever possibilities come from it. And
Exactly. And that's when we take a step back instead of jumping into things sometimes. We let the energies work and then we can have choices, right?
yes, yes.
I'm
And
just going to do something very, very small here for
okay,
Sonia. Is that okay?
yes, that's
I'm,
fine.
I'm, I'm picking a card, so I'm going to shuffle the cards for you because she said she didn't have anything special to ask. So I'm just going to
Okay.
do something here. So I'm
It
picking
says
one
she'll
here.
take anything that's good. Okay.
So, oh, I love this. I don't know
Oh,
if you
wow.
can see it.
Yes.
It's the world. This is standing for openings. We can see it as journeys. It can be an inner journey, an outer journey, the world. But it means that you are not stuck. You are opening up. If you didn't feel that yet, you're going to feel it very, very soon. It's going out there, being a participant of the world,
Yes.
right? So I hope that makes sense to you, Sonia. Thank you.
Yes. And isn't that what we're all doing? Is we are opening up to the possibilities. And
Yeah, we are.
so that was very apropos for us also, is being willing to move in other directions and not being stuck to the ground. This is where stubbornness can get you in trouble, when you say, I'm not moving that foot. And then if you just move it a little bit, then you go, well, that felt better, so I'm going to.
That is stubbornness, used in a not very constructive way, right? Because there is
Correct.
always a good way of using it. It doesn't mean that we are going to be to the degree stubborn that we are just going to do whatever we want to do. We need to see and pick and choose,
And this
right?
is the beauty of energy. It is not stagnant. And just because it has that particular name, being able to stay with something, we get things done. If you didn't have the stubbornness to go out and finish what you were doing, then that job wouldn't get done. And then you'd have much more to do the next day. So everything has a yin and a yang to it. And this is the beauty of bringing that harmony and balance. And even with emotions, you can have all of the emotions. It's what you do with them. And are they going in and destroying you, or are they allowing you to make a change in your life? And
Yes.
so it everything. Oh, I love this, because everything is all connected, and it's as if everything that we've been saying for the last few weeks kind of intertwines, and it is making what we said the week before seem even more profound and more prophetic, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And, we have come to this lifetime with all our senses, right? And
Uh-huh.
we have our feelings and emotions. So I usually say that we have our feelings and emotions act like a compass for us, right? We need all our senses, but this world states that our ego, the mind, should be the most used. No, we need to figure out balance. Sometimes maybe we need to use our logic more than anything else. Other times we need to use something else, our gut feeling or whatever, right? Or what we feel about things. But the compass of our emotions and feelings, that's going to tell us, if we listen to it genuinely, that's going to give us direction. So whenever we feel uncomfortable with something, sometimes that can be a sign that there's something being triggered within us, right? So we need to be aware of that part too. But it's also going to tell us which direction to move. Correct?
Right. And it's interesting because if you really think about it, before logic even comes into play and something, knowledge, so to speak, you've already used the sense of hearing, sight, awareness around you. The hairs on the back of your neck are telling you things. We have all of these things that really guide us. And then after all of that, then we go into the knowledge part and utilize that to go where the next step we want to go. So it's amazing that we really are more sensory, but then again, society says we want you to be more mental, and but we are sensory beings. We are. That's how we get through life. And when our gut tells us we shouldn't go there, we should listen, and because it's usually not going to be too good for us.
No, and I can admit to everybody here live that I've been doing that quite a few times in my life. But that's what we always do. We're not supposed to judge ourselves for it. That's also, an experience. We are here to experience, right?
That's right. It is called the Great Experiment, and we are here to enjoy it. We are here to uh, play our own tunes, write our own stories, sing our own songs, and we do that in harmony with all those around us. And it's a happy place.
It is a happy place. And even if we are observing things on the outside that may actually look challenging, there's always a hidden blessing in everything.
Yes,
Always.
there is.
Sometimes it's only the knowledge, maybe, or the experience or the learning. Other times we can see that if I hadn't taken this path, that at a certain time looked a little bit challenging and maybe not the right one. Well, when I ended up at my destination, I could see that, okay, I came where I wanted to be,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. So I think what I would say if I were speaking to somebody, especially trying to decide what to do with a situation, and they're hurting about it and they don't know how to handle it. I think I'm getting all of these feelings of combining the two. The sympathy is going to get you to want to do something about it, and you can do it from a distance, and there put the love in, not try to, okay, I'm going to take a cake over, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to tell them what lawyer to see, or I'm going to do this. Instead of taking that kind of action, I'm always talking about the heart center and how powerful
Yes.
that is. To just open up your heart. You don't even have to think about it. You just hold that energy open and let this heart talk to that heart. And you don't really have to do the doing and the going and the getting involved. And you can be this loving, giving person. And people can feel this. Uh, the person that's going through this challenge, every time I would contact her, I would not say, "How are things going? Are you okay?" I would say, "I am filling you with love. I am surrounding you with love. And you are surrounded." Things like this, to know that she was not alone, but it wasn't, "This is what you need to do, and have you done this," and so on and so forth. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think we can, there again, we can take that yin and that yang, and we can just smush them together, and we can make them a chain, even
Sonia is
create.
saying to you, yes, sorry, I cut you off.
That's okay.
Okay. Sonia says to you, Kareen, are you reading my mind?
Uh, well,
That's beautiful.
I will say to her that when the words are given to many people into many situations, people that are ready to hear the words that they need to hear will receive this message. So you must be ready to hear what is being said.
Oh, that's beautiful. Um, can we sum this up? And I think that you are good at that, and I'm throwing that on you.
Oh,
Thank
another
you.
hot spot you put me on. All right. But you sum it up so well. You were always the one that sums things up. But I'll give it a little bit of a try.
Okay.
You can finish. Again, that balance, bringing balance into a situation that is uncomfortable for you and uncomfortable for the other people. And by doing that, with finding a peace about yourself and finding a calm and a balance within yourself before you approach the other person. And then in sincerity, just let them know that you have them surrounded with love, or however they want, energy, whatever the words are that you use. And just provide that space for them to do whatever they need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just be there for them.
Just be there.
Yeah, exactly. So, in conclusion, then, both sympathy and empathy are valuable in their own right, right? So
Absolutely.
it's the best thing to find a balance within them, like you said. They serve different purposes in our interactions and can both be used to show care and support, right?
Hmm.
But the most, I think that sympathy is mostly used in this world because that means that we don't need to get in there with someone and we step outside of our comfort zone. It may feel awkward or whatever, but I think that showing empathy for someone, just letting them know that you're there, that's going to to do everything for them. We don't need to fix someone else because we can't, right? But we can be there for them.
Hmm.
That's all, right?
Yes. Perfect. Practically perfect in every way. What can I say?
As always, right? And is there anything we would like to add, you think?
Just enjoy this journey.
Yeah, it can feel like a bumpy journey, but it's we don't need. I don't want to sound awkward or anything, but we don't. Sometimes we may take things too seriously, meaning that we step into things deeper than we have to. It doesn't mean that we are not going to dig deep, but we dig deep in here, not out there, right?
Yeah.
Because here is the solution in here, the heart.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So I think we reached the end. And Sonia says, always, thank you. And the talk related to me so much. Thank you, Karine, as well, right?
Uh-huh.
And end of show announcements then. You have been watching Cosmic Guardians with hosts Anne and Karine, and we have been talking about sympathy versus empathy. What is the difference? And like usual, we have gone a little bit here and there because everything is connected and we need to do that. We're going to be with you again next Wednesday. It's going to be June 19th. We're going to have a gentleman from Australia with us. We're going to come on 3 hours later, actually, because the time difference, so we can kind of figure it out and make things work. It's going to be Bob Eden talking about the KISS principle, keep it simple, sovereign, plus your questions related to the topic. And we are looking forward to having some kind of back and forth and brainstorming together with you all next week. We are going to be on then, if this is 10 a.m. Pacific time, we started today, that's going to be 1 p.m., right? That's going to be 6 a.m. in Australia, and that's going to be 10 p.m. here in Sweden. So that's a little bit of a kind of a timeline. We will go live at facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians and youtube.com/@Angel Place on Earth. And you can come and follow our Facebook page at facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians. Of course, we love to see you there. And thank you for watching us and spending your time with us. We do appreciate you, and see you next week. I say love, light, peace, and joy. And what do you say, Karine?
Love, light, peace, and laughter.
Oh, that's beautiful. Bye.
Bye-bye.